I don't know how you, at discomfort on the side of Pandora, Wallace has been really confident and really collected throughout the week, but we've seen today a lot of people learning the hard lesson.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a live stage, so everything you've seen all year, it matters. I mean, that's how these players got here, but really, it's what can you do this weekend?
Log for Pandora, bar barrel for Wallace. Variations on a theme here as both are playing minor.
The bar barrel might make it difficult once the game goes into overtime and triple elixir. You're not going to be able to get that small spell chip damage that the log minor deck will have.
So is this minor Loon now with the bar barrel and the monk both in the mix?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it all day. The Snowball has been such an important card, and I would assume it's going to be Snowball, Loon, maybe a build-in, not sure what that last card would be. There we go, Bomb Tower. That does make sense if it is Loon.
And you see a little bit of a difference here with playing the monk ability late. Once the Little Prince gets into that full speed to make sure the counter does take the champion all the way off the board. Minute 40 left. And so far, very tight, 28:07 on the top right-hand tower of Pandora, 26:42, the lead for Pandora with that damage on Wallace's bottom right side.
Both players playing relatively slow. Pandora has to be careful about, spending way too much elixir. It's going to allow for an easy Loon opposite lane if he does so. Wallace, on the other hand, he's just waiting for that double, triple elixir where he can start to get those balloon pushes in.
And going Bomb Tower to hold here, which will also help against this minor. Goblins to pick up. Bomb Tower now going to do triple duty here, going back up against the Little Prince.
Little Prince not able to get a shot, but it will activate the ability right there. And Wallace has not played a card, needs to use the Snowball in order to redirect the Guardian.
And you saw the eyebrow raise from Wallace there, a bit surprised that actually made it out, as the Little Prince was dead, gone, buried, and already had a eulogy before that Guardian came on the board.
Right there, Evoed Archers at the bridge. Minor on top of the Bomb Tower. I don't think it's going to be able to take it out all the way, though. Oh, it does. Okay, that should be a shot. Can it get two? No. Just one shot, but does take the lead after the death damage.
1689 to now a little chipping coming in from the minor with the Knight tanking for it. Archers have to come in low. Poison value available for Pandora.
Those Evo Archers are so strong right now, heading into overtime right here. Wallace potentially getting aggressive. No, just going to delay a little bit. There we go. Now going on the aggressive route.
Loon in, Bomb Tower high, but again, Wallace trying to get his Bomb Tower to do so many things all at the same time. Gets the Little Prince off the board from the top, but once again, the lead swinging back to Pandora.
But this is the thing with Loon decks. You can take a little bit of a deficit. They can start taking the lead. You only need one or two good pushes in a game. So far, we've seen one good push from Wallace. Now Wallace just needs to put together a second one. It's going to be a lot easier with the elixir flowing. It's just dependent on whether or not Pandora can defend properly.
Wallace played very little balloon during the CRL season. Only one game did get the win. You have to imagine that Jose VTS, his coach, was trying to be unpredictable here in this matchup. So far, though, it has been Pandora getting the advantage.
Right there, going in with the Loon in the back, trying to set himself up with a double Loon push. First Loon, not going to be the dangerous one. It's that second Loon that is so powerful.
And Poison to slow it down. The minor does not get there in time to tank for the balloon. Snowball to slow it down, and it does connect. Oh my word! The lead swings to Wallace in our final minute.
Right there, Bomb Tower 2 to defend. A big push coming in from Pandora, getting the tower down to 965. But Wallace, let's see what he's going to do. Is he going to attack with just the miners, or is he going to go in with one more Loon push?
These poisons are a huge problem for Wallace, as he does not have the same ability to create direct damage on the tower. You see the minor not getting it done. Loon in for the pressure. Poison in for Pandora. 30 seconds left.
Beautiful adjustment. He wants the balloon to get tanked. The minor on top of the tower. 115, 66.
17 HP left. Log in. Is the Loon going to get there? Yes, it will. Wallace takes game number one.
No panic think whatsoever, knew what he had to do. I love the adjustment. He immediately realized he cannot minor chip to win the game. He's going to have to play the balloons on top, inside the arena. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to finish off that tower.
That was a huge game one win. Let's look at a little bit of that action here from the end. And you saw this miner gets in front, and it's the Loon, in this case, not taking for the miner. Instead, miner gets all the damage that it needs. Barbell to clean up, and at this point, hey, Balloon, easy path right to the tower. GG, well played. Game one for Wallace.
Yeah, beautiful game from both players, really. That was a very solid game overall. And man, I'm just happy to be on the desk. This is exciting. I love it.
More of the stress builds, and you see a big gulp here and a big breath in from Pandora as we jump in to our second round. And the only action so far, some confetti. And are we going to have our very first World Final Staring Contest, Josh?
You'd like to see that. I like all types of contests, and you have to imagine if they're going to be competing in this, they're going to be competing at the highest level in everything they do.
Well, there we go. Finally getting in to a little bit of something. Bar Barrel Archers. Did Pandora just go copy deck? Nope, Tombstone comes out.
Wallace splitting barbs in the back. We're not going to see E-Golem, right? You wouldn't think that we're going to see that on this stage.
That would be wild, and looking like Sparky here is probably the more likely pick as it comes out. Right at that moment, Bowler for the Evolved Barbarians will be nice, and the Electro Giant aggressive in the opposite lane. Barbs out of cycle, and he has to use a pump to pull the Electro Giant. Will it get away in time? The Lightning takes everything off the board. That's going to be a lot of early damage for Pandora.
And no pump in cycle, so that way Pandora can get aggressive right here, getting the tower all the way down to 1958. A very strong opening push from Pandora. You have to be so careful. You've used your Barbs and your Sparky. Those are the two tank-destroying cards. I'm not sure if he should have tried anything else, maybe trying just waste the minions or something. Using those two cards right there in succession, a huge mistake for him.
And Sparky's up as we get closer to double elixir time. Does not want to get caught in the same situation as he had last time, but pick your poison at this point, right? 21:59 left-hand side, 15:30 on the right-hand side, and Wallace, it's very possible that he would just ignore a push in the right-hand lane of the stage.
Right here, going in, and there we go. We see the pump. I mean, this is how you play Sparky Goblin Giant Pump. You want to get slight pushes going in, make your opponent think that you're getting aggressive, but really you're just trying to get those elixir advantages and eventually be able to overwhelm.
And that was a nice fireball there to clear off the Evolved Archers as the Goblin Giant sets up one more time to the left-hand side, and we're not seeing any play being made on that pump, not wanting to use the Lightning all the way back there without extra value.
And right there, Pandora, I mean, he has a huge lead, but you can see him kind of flinch once he played that Sparky in the back. He has such a big lead, but it looks like Wallace just has the advantage. The elixir is flowing for him.
Evo Barbs with the raged up Goblin Giant, raged up Sparky, just spamming right now his Wallace on the right-hand side, but he's not going to get a ton out of this.
Into the tower all the way down to 23:04, but nothing more. Wallace just going to set up with another pump. Again, exactly what you want to do when you're playing these Sparky pump decks.
Barbs in cycle this time. Fireball does not get the Archer to see Wallace shake his head. That was not what he was hoping for. And now the NATO clears, and this should be enough to get this tower all the way down. Pandora takes game number 2.
Oh my goodness, misses the fireball. Oh, you hate to see that. But right there, Pandora, brilliant stuff. He doesn't just see the missed fireball and think, okay, you know, I can reset. He recognizes too much elixir is out of the way. I have to go all in. Great prediction, NATO, to make sure that the Spear Goblins are going to be pushed inside, and that way the tower is going to go down.
Well, and both players taking their time as it's Skeleton Barrel Open at the bridge here from Wallace, right into a pair of dragons.
We saw a lot of players having fun with the skeleton barrel, the clones, the expos. I don't think that we're gonna see it in this game.
Looks like double bait most likely here from Wallace. We'll see if he goes into a Mega Knight direction as he goes Spears left-hand lane. A Lumberjack at the bridge to pick up that Dark Goblin.
And right there, you don't have the miner anymore, so you can't get that constant chip damage with that, but that's why he chose to do skeleton barrel. He's always going to be able to get to the tower with that. Well, not always, but usually.
So of course, we'll talk about Wallace playing some bridge spam earlier. Different look on bridge spam here out of Pandora as he's going with recruits, the lava hand, the Lumberjack, and our Ram Rider.
So we're gonna see a lot, and double recruits action. Love seeing that. It's going to be a very hectic game. And I love those. They are so fun to cast.
Well, the recruits do force you to decide, should they go to the left, right, or middle? Big challenge there, decision making.
Right there, Skeleton King to clean up. Once the recruits are gonna be taken out on the right side, should be able to pop his ability if he wants to, but a Mother Witch is going to be a great response for literally every single card in Wallace's hands.
This is brutal for Wallace, and great read here from Pandora with the fireball out. Not sure what the spell situation is here for Wallace, feeling like maybe it's arrows.
Yeah, Wallace is going to have to completely adjust his game plan. The fact that he has the Mother Witch to worry about now means that he can't really just cycle skeleton barrels hoping that he's gonna get chip damage on the tower. He's going to have to win. I mean, I guess by the mortars and the royal recruits, he can no longer win by the skeleton barrels.
Skelly King right at the bridge into a Goblin Cage as we jump into double elixir time. And it feels like there's already a bit of an advantage here potentially for Pandora, but you add in double elixir. Does that grow here, Josh, as that Ram Rider not getting pulled by the mortar? Charged up connection, and a huge lead opens up for Pandora.
Yep, getting the tower down to 1629, now in the lead by 1,000 HP, and the Dark Goblin wiped off of the board. Pandora has the elixir advantage, the tower damage, and the matchup advantage. This is his game to lose right now.
And Skeleton Barrel, when the Mother Witch is out of cycle, kind of the only option here for Wallace, does not really have the desire to deal with a bunch of pigs going the opposite direction. As we go into sudden death, big lead opened up for Pandora as Wallace tries to make the conversation go away from his weak side tower.
Right there, fireball on the right side tower. Spear Goblins plus the Dark Goblin to clean everything up. I think one of the recruits might get a chip shot, and yes, gets the tower down to 1178. Wallace needs to figure something out quickly, but I'm racking my brain. I don't know what he's supposed to do. This is such a tough matchup.
Yeah, this is definitely rough for Wallace, and playing this one from behind already. Ram Rider in, should go to the mortar as it's not going to fall quite yet, but it touches and turns, and there you go. Look at that. He has finally done it. Pandora gets his first ever win at World Finals.
Beautiful job right there, and it's all about, he just recognizes early on, the only way I can lose is if I get way too aggressive. So what do? I'm just gonna play slow, calm, collected. Eventually, the Ram Riders are going to make it to the tower, and that's exactly what happened right there. The Lumberjack in front, raged it up, tower down.
United player out there, like you said though, Vitor going 2-0. These gentlemen going a little quick and loose in their game number ones. We saw Valk Minor Mortar out of Vitor, and of course out of Pandora it was Minor Control, but then as they got into game number 2 and 3, they both kind of slowed things down and increased the weight of their decks. So it'll be interesting to see if they start off with the exact same pace, and so far with Skelly's non-evolved, it's looking like it could be that way.
Pigs at the bridge from Pandora. And we have a Fisherman in contention here, but it's not going to activate King Tower. You need a full health pig to be able to activate King Tower versus these piggies.
And that is a great call by you, Juice. Looking like we could be seeing Royal Giant at the bottom of our screen.
Yeah.
Probably an Evo to RG, which is a little interesting just because a lot of people think that Evo to RG is one of the worst Evos in the game now, but we've seen it have some success here. Mugi yesterday, and maybe Vitor here today. And obviously top of your screen, Evo to Archers, no surprise there, Juice.
Royal Giant just barely not getting a hit here, and Pandora up quite a bit of damage in this situation. Pandora having great defense, like you said, with that Tesla. The big thing I want to mention here is that Fire Spirit, though. That Fire Spirit not going to be able to freeze up these Royal Giants. Ice Spirit is so imperative for defense versus that.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point that you make, especially once that Evo to RG comes out. You want to be able to drop units on top of it. But really for Pandora, I feel like his best response is going to be those archers throughout.
Yeah, especially the Evo Archers, right? Because you just play them on the opposite lane of your Tesla and prevent that fireball value. And a lot of the time, the damage that they have can be enough, even with just a log, to help support.
Against the other top 16 players out there, we look and see that Pandora has a 67% win rate with Royal Hogs, and then hopping over to his opponent in Vitor, a 70% win rate with Royal Giant.
70%, that is solid. Nothing compared to Mo Light's win percentage with RG. We saw that the other day, unbelievably. But, I mean, we do have a bowler in the right-hand lane here. It's making it so that these pigs on the left-hand side are getting quite a bit of damage. Evo Archer is getting a lot of value. That egg will survive.
And Egg does survive. We'll see if Vitor wants to double down on that. Instead, he does, in a way, by going RG in the back. Do you like that play instead of going aggressive at the bridge?
It makes sense right now. Bowler does somehow chip that Tesla down. So now when the RG gets to the bridge, Pandora's going to need another Tesla and cycle.
And Fisherman goes in front there, Juice, but then stops because of the archers. Really nice placement there by Vitor as he has a second Royal Giant coming out.
2 RGs, this is what RG's all about. We have double connection on both sides. Royal Delivery coming down, Lightning gonna clip a couple skeletons, but Vitor is gonna knock back and get some damage here, but he's not in the good yet.
Yeah, you know, an interesting lightning there, but I think the thing to hold on to is that Vitor wasn't actually down in any elixir. Now Pandora goes those Evo Archers once again at the bridge. Something behind, maybe?
Evo Archers! Oh,
the one's on tower!
Oh, 7 to 192 already on the right-hand lane.
And that is a huge misstep by Vitor, who honestly wasn't really in a bad position, but maybe just a small misplay there, Juice.
Yeah, here comes another round of pigs. He does not have a building. He goes boulder on his weak side tower. He gets the Fisherman down, but once again, not going to be able to activate unless the piggy is full health.
And it's interesting that, I mean, he does keep going there for good reason, I guess, but it'd be really nice to get that King Tower activation, Juice.
Evil RG at the bridge, Barbarian Barrel over the river instead of Lightning, trying to save some elixir potentially for these archers. RG is getting to the tower. There is another Tesla in hand.
Wow, Pandora is playing this masterfully. Another Royal Delivery comes down, stops that push. 70 seconds remaining here in game number 1.
Pre-prepared for any sort of pigs, blocking this right-hand side. We have a minute left on the clock. Vitor needs another double Royal Giant push.
And right now, Pandora doing the smart thing by going aggressive in the left-hand lane. Now that Bowler and Fisherman are both out of cycle, that means that he has to defend and cannot double down on the push on the right-hand side, which is what you know he wants to do. He wants to get an RG in the mix, and here we go. This forced RG could mean more pigs coming out on the left-hand side.
These Evil Archers going down to that Barbarian is so fantastic, but does he have a bowler for these pigs? He does. Archers on the defense to the right-hand side. Fire Spirit does connect. This is a lot of damage.
Pigs on the tower, and that's it. Vitor knows it. You can see it on his face. Pandora taking another big win.
Wow, I mean, Pandora made a beautiful set of plays there. I liked how he was always waiting for the bowler to come out and then going pigs opposite lane. And if the bowler...
Number 2 coming your way in just a moment as the two of them are setting up their decks. And now Vitor facing a trip down to the lower bracket, but I guess the one thing to hang on to both, or for both of these gentlemen, is that they still have a life to give here in 2023.
Miner going to be tanking for these goblins. A little bit of a misplace from Vitor there. That's going to deal with the goblins' little prince on the miner.
You know, we've seen that twice today now, Juicy. We were backstage together. You were saying Mugi did it. Now we're seeing Vitor do it. There's no reason to be that far away. You can go one tile closer, not worry about the NATO King Tower activation. So maybe just a little bit of shaky hands, a little bit of nerves.
Mega Knight in the back from Pandora. We might be seeing another Mega Knight Evo Bat Goblin Giant here. And I do not like to see this deck. It's like Mega Knight Goblin Giant, really. Is that how the meta has become?
Well, either way, I'm sure you'll be able to pick up 20 wins with it, Juice, as this MK connects on top of the tower, and things go from bad to worse here for Vitor from game 1 to game 2. And that little prince barely gets taken care of. And if that had not gone down, that could have already been tower down for Vitor, who was able to survive, but now down over 1,000 HP.
And I think the reason he's really struggling to deal with that Mega Knight is because look at Vitor's deck, he's lacking a tank. He's focusing on using the Little Prince ability as his tank, but he did not have that in Cycle, and that's why he's really struggling here. But he has a nice mortar connection here, getting a lot of damage.
Yeah, great catch there, great Ice Spirit. Now he's baiting out even more Elixir, so you see he's got a decent Elixir advantage. And this makes it a lot easier to deal with this Little Prince because you can just go something cheap like Minions. Instead, he goes Miner, then Minions.
I like the Miner plus Minions. It's going to counter everything, and we have a fairly even match. Rage going to take out these Minions there. Vitor up, slight amount of Elixir. He decides to go Mortar right away. That might be... Okay,
that's
huge.
It's a
lock, but Pandora might be able to defend this and counter push with double Elixir coming in.
And there it is. Pandora goes, no problem. You can get a couple shots in, but can you defend this? And we are about to find out the answer to that question. Maybe a little early on the ability there, but I think maybe he's trying to protect the Little Prince from those stab goblins. Wow. Ice Spirit able to clean most everything up. 11:58, 6:54. We see Vitor raising his hand.
Raising his hand. I hope everything's all right. The gameplay was perfect from him there. What I really love to point out here is the fact that the double Elixir really ended up being in Vitor's favor.
Yeah.
He wasted all of his Elixir, not wasted, he used it for that mortar connection. But then he was able to defend with double Elixir coming in.
And you see right there, Vitor recognizes he maybe played that just one tile too high. Now the Little Prince able to pick things off, and he has got a very heavy push coming in. You're gonna need to hold on that Little Prince ability, and his hand is back up again, and now you can see Vitor visibly upset.
Goblins, Minions, maybe he's lagging. He wasn't able to place those cards. I mean, he was in the driver's seat. I don't know what's happening here.
And you can see Vitor very, very upset, and understandably so, with so much on the line here. Gonna have a conversation with League Ops about maybe what went on, and we'll be back to you guys with the results of this conversation in just moments. And it looks like something may have happened a handful of times. And we did hear some issues with phones locking, maybe?
Yeah, so maybe the phone was turning off mid-game, and that's why he wasn't able to play those goblins down in time. Either way, it's a very unfortunate situation. We'll have to wait and hear back to see what is going to happen.
And this conversation, definitely a tough one for Pandora, who wants to celebrate how well that game went. But as you said, Juice, and as Pandora most likely knows that his opponent kind of stopped responding the way that his CRL Pro would in a moment like that with so much on the line. And this is a tough spot for everyone on stage. And you can see they're touching the lock button on the side. Not sure exactly what may have happened, but I'm starting to think more and more that it could have been the phone locking, because Vitor put his hand up and then was able to hop back into the game very quickly. He didn't waste any Elixir. And then as the game went on, obviously a bit more frustrating as we're ticking down.
Yeah, it just happened again at the wrong moment, right? That Goblin Giant just coming in. Goblins, Minions, not able to defend in time. And yeah, we'll have to, I mean, League Ops still doing their job, trying to figure out exactly what the cause of the problem was. Pandora, like I said, you can't help but feel bad for Vitor here, but also when things like this happen, it's tough for the player who won as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously you want to still take the win home, but these players also very friendly with one another. Maybe not the way that you want to pick up that win, but
absolutely,
such is life. And Pandora and Vitor, like we stated before, still in the upper bracket. Not really the way that you want to have to lose one of your lives. Remember, that is only game one of this best of three, and still just really giving it to that lock button. You show him.
So we are hearing word from the producers. Apparently he was complaining that it was locking, but as League Ops is checking if it was locking or not, it is not. So it should be a red victory here.
Yeah, very difficult there, because replicating something like that in the moment doesn't always work, but there's not really a way to go back and check how many times your iPhone or phone has locked, you know. So again, a very unfortunate situation, but you know, we're gonna have to just play this out and see how things go. And as you said, Juicy, it might be leaning towards a red win. And this conversation continues on, and hey, maybe not the best moment to bring it up, but clashevents.supercell.com is a great way for you guys to get involved in the action, since right now we're not getting a lot on stage. And we see there former pro Rad. What up, Rad? Anthony D'Angelo there on the far left-hand side. Pompeo as well.
Yeah.
I hear he's pretty cool. Look at that smile from Pompeo. Just a likable guy.
All right, so it sounds like it is going to be a red victory here. And can we get a reminder on what the score of the overall match is?
Well, it's just 1-0 now for Pandora. It is absolutely confirmed and in the history books. So game number 1, match number 1 here between these two. All right, it is a match win for Pandora.
It's only game.
So not the way you want to see it go, but Pandora will take the match win here. Will we not be playing game 2 again? And while taking the breath out of the room a little bit, still Pandora survives in the upper bracket. Vitor has lost his 1 life to give, and we'll see more of him later today.
A brutal change, but as you said, it was the upper bracket. Vitor still has a very good chance in the lower bracket, and he can still come back for that championship. The crowd really wanting to see some mortar here. Maybe we'll have Pedro have the mortar right here for the Hog Rider. No, he goes for the bats and the goblins. It still gets a hit though.
Wow, and a lot of elixir spent from Pandora right there. The snowball, earthquake. He's gonna be down a lot of elixir. Pedro, how is he going to want to abuse that? Goes with a little Prince in the back. We should be seeing a decent push right now from Pedro. He could have the Royal Delivery as well, but Pandora's using up all of his spells.
I can't help but think that maybe Pandora got a little bit lucky there. If Pedro had the correct cards in hand, like the Goblin Giant, to punish that massive elixir spend in the beginning, this could be game over already, but instead, Pedro not having the right cards to punish, he has to cycle out the little Prince and that Rage, and we're in more of an even game now.
Pedro going to still go in with the Goblin Giant, even though he did have that most likely poor cycle early on. And this Tesla plus Knight plus Skellies, these are all going to put in a lot of work. But again, he was just down so much. Can this bowler get taken out by the splash from the Firecracker? Great defense from Pandora. No panic whatsoever. Gives up one little Spear Goblin Chuck, but not too bad. Pedro forced out to defend.
Fisherman in the middle with a boulder. Will get King Tower activation. Will it stop the hog hit? Yes, it does. Wow, fantastic defense. But Pedro's offense here, this counter push is looking crazy. If he can get a Goblin Giant here, it could be game over. I'm not sure he hasn't cycled though.
Are you kidding me? We're gonna defend like that? I was going to say, oh, why does he not Fisherman try and pull the hog into the King Tower? But it really just doesn't matter if you can make placements like that. The bowler, in order to push the hog away from the tower, great placements from Pedro right there. You have to be so impressed.
Ability from the little Prince, gonna get that Guardian out there to make sure the Firecracker is not splashing on that tower. And I can't help but once again just point out how Pedro's cycle has been a little bit messed up this entire game. Pandora reaping the benefits of that here with a bit of a damage lead. And I love the opposite lane pressure though. You cannot always go same lane in this matchup versus that bowler.
Right there, Goblins to defend, does not have to worry about the pre-log, considering Pandora does not have a log in his deck. So Pedro just going to utilize that bowler very, very well and sets himself up with another bowler already. Two big purple guys on the map.
Yeah, not only that, a little Prince as well. He's making sure no Hog Raiders are allowed to go anywhere. So forcing Pandora to actually use his elixir defensively on these Teslas to just prepare for that defense. But here comes the push from Pedro.
And right here, Fisherman going to yank itself into the range of the Tesla. This is looking like a mighty fine push, but again, another Tesla placed down on the map. We're just gonna see if one of these bowlers can get any sort of value, but Pandora putting on a clinic right now, defending absolutely perfectly, and again, Ice Spear, but that is a mistake. No, not going to matter. Will want to make sure that his placements don't take out the Teslas in the future.
Evo Knight at the bridge. Evo Bats on defense plus a little Prince. I love the snowball onto these Bats though, and this Hog Rider is getting some massive of damage. Pedro needs to counter push here, but it's so difficult versus these firecrackers. Pedro's last spell here is lightning, which means this firecracker is getting massive amounts of value.
Right, you get these firecrackers flying away from the Little Prince, so that way the Little Prince is taken out fully. 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and Pedro just has not had an offensive push whatsoever. These Goblin Giants are getting taken out so easily.
Here comes our first lightning of the game. Rage as well. This Goblin Giant's pretty healthy going towards tower, but the Ice Spirit plus Firecracker and the Knight is doing a great job of controlling. Earthquake wipes out all the Goblins as well. This is a masterclass of micro interactions from Pandora.
Yeah, Pedro still trying to look for just any opportunity to go in. Bats on top of the Firecracker, trying to take that out. Does so nicely. 900 HP separating the two players. And I mean, really, what are you supposed to do? He's tried going double bowler. He's tried doing everything and anything right here. Fisherman to set up the Hog, going to the King Tower. Going to defend it beautifully, but he can't do anything on offense.
We have two Goblin Giants on the board. Maybe he can get it done right now. Lightning is going to drop right now, hitting absolutely everything. Range up, Goblin Giant is locked on tower. Oh, Pedro making the absolute fantastic comeback. I can't even speak, this is insane.
The Ice Spirit gets taken out, not gonna make the jump. Pedro come from behind, victory, triple elixir is all he was waiting for. And Pedro, the lightning, the beautiful lightning, taking out the Tesla, the Firecracker, a little bit of damage on top of the Crowd Tower. He was waiting for that moment.
Yeah, he waited for that moment.
Game number 2 underway. Pedro going to be running Miner. Juicy, you've talked about how Miner has struggled so far in these World Finals, but I feel like it was Pedro that was one of the players that was able to have success with it. Am I crazy? What's going on with that?
You're absolutely right. Pedro was able to win a match with Miner Poison. I also want to point out how Lightning is now not going to be available for Pedro. So I think he's going to lean on this Miner Poison, and it seems like maybe he's gonna get a decent matchup, but I'm not sure though. Pandora actually going to be using, I believe, some Recruit Bridge spam here.
Oh, that is right. We've seen this deck before. I think it was on day number 1, Lumberjacks, Skeleton Dragons, and there we go. Crowd erupting right now because the Mortar is finally played by one of these players. Mighty Miner plus the Ice Spirit will come down and should be able to take it out very nicely. No Mortar shot onto the tower, but that's not a problem. Pedro just gonna reset, but this time with a Mighty Miner on the board. Goblin Cage in response from Pandora.
I cannot help but be just as excited as the crowd for this Mortar because Pedro is the best Miner Mortar Poison player in the game. It is his best deck. He's finished on ladders so many times, so well. And Pandora, on the other hand, using more of a aggressive offensive deck, I can't but think that maybe Pedro's got a pretty good situation for himself here. Although you do have to watch out for the arrows' value. Those arrows are going to do so well versus the minions and the evil archers throughout this match.
Wow, great interaction knowledge from Pedro. And will we get another? I mean, you said it yesterday. It always gets that shot. Mother Witch going to come out right there in a response. Archers not going to focus on top of the Mother Witch, so Pandora going to clean that up nicely. But Pedro, I love this deck choice. I feel like we've seen this Mortar Minions Goblins variation sometimes this weekend. Instead, going with the Evo to Archers, no Little Prince action. Pedro with a huge lead going against Royal Recruits Ram Rider.
Minions in the back, whereas Pedro does have the Mortar, which has done great for him on offense so far. As we head in this double and triple elixir, Mortar is not going to be the building of choice that you'd like to see for defenses versus these recruits. You'd much rather have a bomb tower in this situation.
Right there, will the Ram Rider be placed down in time? I believe so, and it absolutely does. Fireball gonna come out, take out most of these troops, but there we go. Mortar getting another shot. Pedro just knows how to have a Mortar find the tower.
Evil Recruits are on the board. Mighty Miner ability taking some shields off. They're all going to start charging. Ice Spirit perfectly able to stop every single one of them. Recruit gets a little bit of damage to the left. Will we see that on the right as well? Yes, we will.
Wow, 2 shots coming in from the Royal Recruits Evolution. Pedro, I mean, it's hard to expect perfection from him, but we always do. And right there, just a slight mishap with those interactions.
I love these Skeleton Dragons over the river. Rather than going for a Fireball onto that, not only does he get these Skelly Drags down, but they also are able to get a little bit of damage and apply a little bit more pressure.
Good Ice Spirit jump right there. Going to defend the right lane very, very easily. These minions are getting a ton of value, but he will have to be careful about that Mother Witch. Mother Witch placed over the middle, unlocking an offense that we have not seen very often throughout this tournament.
Evo Archer's going to be protected on the left, but Firebolt out on the right. This Mother Witch is a pain to deal with for Pedro, but he's still... Wait, no, he's actually down in damage now. Wait, he's actually losing at this point.
Right there, almost into triple elixir. How does he want to respond? Mighty Miner over the middle, and I don't know if this death damage is going to be able to work. It does for most of the troops, but not all. The Miner comes down just in time. Look at the left lane. The left lane, Goblin Brawler on top of the tower.
And the Ram Rider.
Oh!
The mortar just barely gets down in time. Fireball inbound, Evo Archers. He's stayed alive for now, but he has only 47 seconds left to make this comeback.
Miner minions at the bridge. And I mean, he's going to be able to get a little bit of damage, but Pandora controls his own destiny at this point. Mother Witch cycled behind the crown tower. Left side low, right side low. How does Pandora want to attack?
If Pedro wins this game, that would be one of the most fantastic matches I've ever seen, but he has a lot to do in only 20 seconds. The tower is down to 500 HP at this point, but Pandora only needs 2 more fireballs.
Right there, log plus poison, and the Miner going in the back.
Miner is caught! Fireball inbound! Will the log do more? Another poison here, arrows in, 3 seconds! Who's gonna win this match? And Pedro gets a 2-0 sweep!
How does he get it down in time? Poison! He cycled those poisons so quickly! I swear, he had 7 seconds left in the game. The first poison goes down, the log goes down, the 3-card cycle gets another poison. How does he do it? What did you say? One of the greatest matches ever? I think that's what we just saw.
I am speechless yet again. Pedro, a rookie, his first World Finals ever, taking down Pandora, his 3rd one. I mean,
And we're starting to get monologues, apparently, from the crowd.
The other people in the crowd know they can talk, right? It doesn't just have to be them?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can also scream if you want. And taking it and running with it. I love that I can at least look at them. Brings me joy. So Evo Archer's out here early for Ruben, and Pandora responds in kind. Ruben's win rate here with a handful of win conditions. E-Giant, Mortar, GY, he's been perfect with, and that is an early nice connection, but Pandora takes it and makes the best of it by activating King 2472 as a Ram Rider is set up in the back.
NATO Bar Barrel as the spells from Pandora. Well, the help of the bowler is going to be important, but what I was going to say is just the NATO and the Bar Barrel, those cards are going to struggle against the Ram Rider. It's still going to be able to stay with the charge and get to the towers easily.
Honestly, I feel like those guys over there are pretty good on predicting. They called out Mortar, we got Mortar. They're calling out Bowler, we got Bowler. I don't mean to encourage them, but maybe you start listening.
Ruben, full on elixir, goes with the archers in the back, allowing his troops to just take out what they can, but getting a full reset right there. And we're just seeing it again. Looks like E-Giant Lightning with the Baby Dragon instead of any Little Prince variation.
Yeah, Juicy was talking yesterday about why Baby Dragon has been showing up a little bit more, does not die to Lightning, so you can still get good value from that Baby Dragon, even when Lightning is in play, which we have seen a lot of Lightning, and Pandora leaking just a couple elixir, trying to decide what he wants to do. He sets it with E-Giant in the back, heading right towards this Phoenix.
Ruben going to be responding with a Mega Knight of his own right there. And Ruben, I mean, these decks, the deck that Ruben is using is going to be so difficult to defend. He has to make sure that he's counter pushing and applying pressure opposite lane. He has to do everything perfectly. And right here, this is a good defense because of those Evo Archers.
Yeah, absolutely, and a good defense on the other side of it. And that's something that Pandora is going to have to be very, very vigilant of, is knowing exactly when those Evo Archers are in cycle so that he always has his NATO ready to pull them closer to the E-Giant, because if that is something that he's not staying on top of, that is going to make this a very, very difficult rest of this game.
No building for Ruben, so Pandora's going to have a somewhat easier time once Triple Elixir happens, if he can make it to Triple Elixir, to be able to just get very aggressive with these E-Giants and just, I mean, we've seen it before, just go E-Giant bridge, because once you use the NATO, pull everything in, everything's gonna stun itself, and we're always gonna see the E-Giants get into the tower.
And this is exactly what I was just talking about. Big shout out again to Juicy J. You see right there, Lightning comes down, Baby Dragon stays alive, helps clean everything up, 28-87 to 20-47. Ruben has run Ram Rider 15 times this year with a 67% win rate.
Tombstone Skelly is going to be able to protect it beautifully, especially with the help of the bowler. So right there, Mega Knight plus Phoenix. Will we see the Lightning in response? And we absolutely do. Another very clean defense right there, but the egg taken out fully.
And Ruben's happy to keep getting those Lightnings off the tower. He's already got great damage in. He's already got a several hundred HP lead. And as long as he can hold and Lightning at the bridge to stop pushes, he can sneak in that Lightning at the end with that damage lead. Talking about Pandora playing E-Giant, 25 plays on the season, his second most popular win condition, with a 76% win rate.
Right there, Bandit taking out the Tombstone fully. Are we going to see it push? And we absolutely do. Ram Rider coming down, and we are going to see the E-Giant placed directly on top. That way the Ram Rider stuns itself. A great E-Giant. And right there, Lightning misses the E-Giant. I'm not sure if he did that on purpose or not.
I think he was going for support troops. He got the Baby Dragon, and he got one of the Super Archers, or Evo Archers, excuse me, and we'll see if that was the correct decision to make, as this Archer should know. Perfect placement and timing with that Royal Ghost by Ruben. Does get a shot in, 25-93, narrowing that gap just a hair is Pandora as he sets up an E-Giant in the opposite lane.
Yeah, left lane going in with the E-Giant, Baby Dragon, and Bowler on the right. Archers to help out, but that's a lot of Lightning value. Will the Mega Knight jump?
It does jump! It does jump, and the splash is there. This should be it in game one.
He needs to NATO it off. He delays, gets the NATO, finally, but it jumps again!
It jumps again! The double jump from 1MK, and Ruben takes game number one.
Snowball going to take out the tower, the double jump, the NATO. I mean, the NATO needs to bring the MK off the tower, but I didn't really think that far. You also need to play another troop down.
Both of these players, so at least a good shot for our friends over here.
Ruben, 7 wins in a row. Can he make it the 8? We shall see soon.
Pandora's run Hog Rider 37 times this year, but only with a 43% win rate. You go to Ruben on the other side of it, he's ran it 41 times, but with a 73% win rate. As this little prince snipes off that Tombstone.
Ruben, after seeing the Poison and the Tombstone, you just have to assume it's going to be a Splash Yard type deck. You see the Knight as well, Evo Knight, and Pandora. Just going to be looking at the quick cycle RGs. We're going to see if he takes a page out of Air Surfer's.
That's just his
page. And uses the Hunter or the Guards, one of those kind of variations.
Future King over here.
Right there, Ghost going to be able to defend that very nicely, taking out all of the support troops, but he's going to need a bigger response. Instead, has to force out the Fisherman. Will it be able to get the yank before the Little Prince takes it out completely? And it does. Clean defense from Pandora.
And I like this pick with Archers and Lightning out. This is a really, really nice pick. It matches up very, very well. We see an aggressive RG at the bridge with the Rage, and Pandora getting some great damage in, and Ruben, you can kind of see just scratching his chin going, what do I do to stop the bleeding? NATO comes in, which means only 1 elixir in the tank, and a great swing back here from Pandora.
Ruben setting himself up with the Tombstone, but I believe that Ghost is going to be able to take it out fully unless he responds with extra troops. Right there, Barbell to protect the Tombstone. We see how important it is to protect the Tombstone with that last RG Evo push.
And I mentioned it at the beginning of this set, Ruben is perfect with Graveyard in this competition.
Bold and bashful.
And with the patience that we've seen from our former world champion, you like the deck pick, but we'll see how it fares being down about a half a tower here to Pandora, who is, I don't know what, is like a more Fisherman than I've seen on the board in a while.
Wow, that is a value NATO right there, and he's going to be able to get slightly aggressive Baby Dragons and the Night Fisherman pulling it, but that's double Baby Dragons.
One on the tower. Poison comes down here for Ruben, and he is narrowing that gap as the second Baby Dragon will take out the Little Prince. So damage dealt, and Pandora tries to respond.
Rage coming in to help out the RG. Can he get the correct timing with the bar barrel and the garden? Will the RG get a shot? It does not. Perfect defense from Ruben, and he storms back into the game.
21-88, 15-17. As this Royal goes, will create just a little bit of pressure. Pandora goes opposite lane. Ruben has 6 elixir to respond. What does he have to deal with this Little Prince and Guardian push?
Wow, and he only has 2
And look
elixir.
at that! Oh, Guardian turns around, but Royal Giant taking for Guardian. Now Guardian gonna be taking for that Royal Giant. And Pandora dominating game number 2.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to defend it. Does not push off with the tombstone. So that's another shot and another shot. We need to see what the big spell is, but it's going to be Fireball right there. Takes out the tower. Pandora gets game number 2. It's going to game number 3.
This lower bracket run is giving me heart palpitations. This is insane. Pandora comes back. And here we go. Good luck coming out from both of these competitors. And some Spear Goblins at the bridge. Ruben ready to go with the log.
Yeah. Ruben still has Log, Earthquake available. We could see the Hawkquake cycle from him. Maybe the Royal Hogs. We've seen that earlier this weekend. And yeah, this makes sense. Ruben could be running RG, one of the best players in the world with RG. He started a meta just with how good he was with RG healer.
Ruben has run RG 42 times this season, 21 each Evo and non-Evo. 76% win rate with Evo RG, and a 71% win rate with the regular RG. And we'll see if Pandora can hold on with this quick cycle deck.
Ruben, last 2 cards, we're gonna see Fireball and possibly a building, but I don't know. Only having, and there you go, Skeleton Dragons, that makes sense. Because only if you,
oh! And a huge hit there. Skeleton Dragons out. Elixir in favor of Pandora, who just took a massive damage lead. Up now by just under 800 HP.
Skeleton Dragons, I mean, they're so strong when you use another card with it, when they're protected or when they're trying to snipe opposing mortars that are placed outside of the Crown Tower range. But sometimes they just don't do what they're supposed to do. They don't know their responsibilities.
And while Pandora has run wall breakers 25 times this season, his win rate with it is only 56%. So maybe Ruben was thinking he went somewhere else, something that he had a higher win rate. And we see Evo Knight plus Miner on top, trying to stop the bleeding as fast as they can. Now come out those Skelly Drags. We'll see how much of a menace they're going to be throughout this game. But that walking Evo Knight doing a great job here.
Firecracker trying to stay away with the help of the E-Spirit. It will. It's still going to get more damage. Damage on top of the Crown Tower. That's important chip.
Yeah, good fortune there for Ruben as Pandora goes for that King Tower activation. Miner into that right-hand side, which is exactly what you have to do with this deck. You have to be very, very happy to change lanes. And you see it pulls those Skeleton Dragons out of Ruben.
Yeah, and right there, that is a massive error from Ruben. Because he misses the log on top of the Miner, it forces out the Skeleton Dragons over the middle. He could have tanked a bat damage and a little bit more shovel shots from the Miner. Instead, forces out those Skelly Drags.
Lumberjack in response to those wall breakers, obviously a negative trade. Pandora's not sure what to do with this influx of elixirs, so he gets Spears down just a hair late. As these wall breakers trying to create a little bit of space here, stop those Skeleton Dragons, and now good damage in here on this RG.
Yeah, Pandora controlling the match entirely right now, but we've seen it with all of these evolutions. I mean, you can control the game entirely, but if you just give up one good offensive push, it gets dangerous.
3 elixir remains. A nice late log there by Ruben, helping that Lumberjack out. 1950 to 2482. Pandora is commanding this game, or at least in the driver's seat, but it feels like Ruben is maybe finding his bearings. And those spears were dropping that Lumberjack, yeah?
Yeah, placed a little bit too early. Only one of the Spear Goblins survives, gets the left Crown Tower down to 17. 1647 is Pandora. And right there, another slight error. The E-Spirit, I believe, it jumped on top of the Miner as it was dying.
And Bat's tanking for those wall breakers, so Lumberjack has to come out. And an early fish boy here from Ruben.
And there we go. That is a great placement of the firecracker, and right there, Evo RG on top of the bomb tower. Will he be able to get a second RG on the board in front of the firecracker potentially? There we go. We absolutely see that.
And Evo Knight up high, bomb tower down late. Fisherman here to pull the Evo Knight away. Bat's gonna do a decent job because that firecracker is distracted, and that was a very clean defense from Pandora, once again, who goes right back on offense.
Right there, forces out the log in response from Ruben. Fisherman not going to be able to get any value. Ruben just trying to set himself up for the double RG push. There is no other way for him to beat this gorgeous defense from Pandora.
40 seconds remain in one of these two 2023 career.
Lumberjack going to be able to go on the left lane. Skelly Dragons to help out over the right. We see the poison on defense. Bomb tower should be placed in the middle, and there we go. This is the double RG push that he's been waiting for.
Evo Knight up high. Log comes in to take care of those spears. Firecracker distracted. This should be clean enough for Pandora. No, does get another shot. And the late bomb tower, 1503, 1451. Needs to get a poison and a miner down. Poison is in.
Going to apply pressure with the Skelly Dragons. I think, no. This is the log poison. It's gonna do
Ruben has been eliminated by just a hair, and Pandora stays alive.
What is it with these poison games? They always get to that last poison, gets the damage. I'm getting lightheaded. How?
And looking at those community predictions, it's so hard not to pick, or it's hard to pick against Pandora after he said, "I am the best."
I know.
I mean, what a hard quote.
That confidence just through the roof, and you love to hear it. You know, he talks about being underrated. Everyone kind of thinking that he doesn't have what it takes to be here. He got lucky last year. Maybe he got lucky this year. He was the first one to get given a golden ticket. Blah, 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 blah. Now he is top 3 in the world, going up against a former world champion, and they have met one other time this year, back in August. Mugi actually taking that 2-0, and we'll see if Pandora can turn the tide on those statistics.
Phoenix walking towards this boulder, going to be a great way of taking that out. And Fisherman here as well. Will Pandora pull the Fisherman in with the Tornado? It looks like he's going to just kind of let it do its thing. And we see an RG opposite lane.
Yeah.
Wow. Mugi was realizing the Tornado had to come out of the Fisherman and went immediately for it.
And I like this. So he's going to take a lot of damage, but the Phoenix is going to be able to clean things up enough. And Mugi in a tower trade situation, now in a good spot to use the ability, yes, and we'll see how Pandora wants to respond.
I got to talk about the matchup here. I always do. It's definitely in favor of Electro Giants, but
that's a big connection,
look at this
Juice.
Connection, the little prince, along with the log, going to take this tower in lightning range.
And you see there Mugi maybe feeling the first bit of relief in the last 20+ minutes after that rough set against Pedro. 1190, 179. Mugi in a position where he can basically just spell cycle this out, assuming that final card will probably do enough damage, as Pandora needs to put together a fantastic minute and 15.
And it's very possible, once again, Royal Giant's only big counter to the Electro Giant is the Fisherman, but you can tornado that Fisherman in and counteract it completely, which is why Mugi is going to keep applying pressure and make it so hard for him to go for the Electro Giant push.
That's a great call. All the things you say right there, Juice. Aggressive RG at the bridge. NATO now something you don't have to worry about on the counter push. Mugi already has this game sewn up in spell power, so what is he going to do? He needs to get ahead of his opponent. Not sit back and defend, but like you said, create pressure so your opponent cannot get those perfect big E-Giant pushes. And once again, RG at the bridge.
But this time, Pandora has the Evil Archers and cycled the Barbarian Barrel for this offense as well. RG does get a couple shots, but he knows he has to take some damage if he wants to deal some back. Electro Giant getting taken out. There's another one at the bridge. Egg still alive for both players, but Mugi's egg will reign supreme and be perfect for the defense here.
Excuse me, don't you know who I am?
And 585 remaining on that top tower, 179 on the bottom right. Fireball comes in. And a nice, easy cruise to victory here for Mugi. As you see that damage in early on, he holds on. A tower trade situation that really does pay off.
Yeah, the tower trade situation, I mean, that's what it really came down to, right? But also, Mugi's ability, like we said many times, to apply pressure. He applied pressure and made it so that Pandora didn't have the opportunity to get multiple E-Giants on the board. Okay, we went from calling out random cards to just yelling loud noises. I am a little bit confused about that.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys, try a little harder. This is the lower bracket finals. So here we go, Skelly Drag split in the back as Mugi leaking a little bit of elixir, showing us those Evo Archers, split Goblins in front to protect. And Evo Recruits down low.
Evo Recruits, and Mugi has a Mighty Miner. Mighty Miner, not the card you want versus those Recruits. I'd much rather have a Valkyrie or even just a Knight.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this year, I believe that was one of the reasons we stopped seeing Mighty Miners, because we started seeing Rogue Recruits absolutely everywhere. Ram Rider comes in here and pushes it back just a bit before it connects on this bomb tower. And that should be a nice, clean defense here from Mugi.
I have to point out that that Ram Rider usually would not go to the direction of that bomb tower, but in this situation, it was pushed by the Recruits along with the help of that Mighty Miner bomb to make sure that was a clean, zero damage taken defense from both players now.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely clean across the board, 30-52 as you can see.
Archers in the back from Mugi. So we have Evo Archers versus Evo Recruits. Pandora does have those arrows to deal with the regular Archers, but once they're in the Evo form, it's going to be very difficult for him to break through.
I'm happy to see Mugi playing wall breakers here. He's played them 42 times on the season with a 74% win rate.
Wall breakers might be showing why he's got that very nice
what
win
a
rate.
great connection there. Still completely perfect on defense, but now is when those Royal Recruits get a little dangerous. And bomb tower, perfect there.
I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Royal Recruits bait out the bomb tower, and then they go for the Ram Rider. But look at that, Evo Archers in cycle, and the snowball. Gonna be a great way to lock down that Ram Rider.
And one of those Archers untouched, so you don't want arrows on top of them, obviously. See how Pandora wants to take care of it as he sets up a God Cage here and a Lumberjack, and then we see Mugi going fancy footwork opposite lane, Mighty Miner tanking for the regular Miner.
Wall breakers kiting the Lumberjack backwards, but it does get taken out, so they will not connect. But still, that Miner chip on the left-hand side is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, just a little early on those wall breakers, right, Juice? You play them just a little bit later, you can get a little bit of threatening push with those wall breakers, but instead Lumberjack takes them both out. Not exactly what Mugi wants, but could be worse.
And we see the Mother Witch. Mother Witch could have potential to get a lot of value here, spawning more pigs. And we see a cage in the back from Pandora. I mean, what a play. He's just banking up elixir, similar to an elixir pump.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting play. And then the worst thing that happens in his mind is the Goblin Brawler pops out and just goes down the left-hand lane. Best case scenario is you see Mugi kind of pause the brakes, or hit the brakes, I should say, on sending out any miners. Ram Rider connects on the right, second cage comes down.
And now we see one of the weirdest things in Clash Royale, 2 Goblin Brawlers on the board, but they're getting wiped out by these Evo Archers. Fireball will take them out, but now he's low in elixir. He does not have cage and cycle. Minor wall breakers in, that's a double connection.
That's huge! The pre-snowball knows that the Goblin Cage is out. Both Goblin Cages are out with the pre-cycle there from Pandora. Mugi taking control of this, now only 291 HP. He needs a Miner, he needs a Snowball, and he needs a Poison, and he stays alive in this competition.
Going from $80,000 to $125,000 as well. That is the change in pricing for this match. There's only 1 minute, 20 seconds left here.
And good pressure here, but Mugi knows he can clean it all up because he has had immaculate defense throughout this entire game.
Mother Witch gets taken out here. Here comes the Lumberjack at the bridge. Minor Poison. I think that's going to be enough to finish it off.
Juicy. Our former world champion of 2021 has a shot to make history, making it to our grand finals again here in 2023.
Mugi doing what he does best. How many 2-0 sweeps has he had today? Not today, but this entire competition. So many. It seems one after another.
I mean, technically you could call the one with Pedro a 2-0 sweep, just not the one that he likes, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you'd much rather have that clean win throughout on the top of the bracket, but he will be in the lower bracket, and he is going to be making it to the finals, and I cannot wait to watch it.
And remember
I can't agree with that sentiment more. Be excellent to each other and party on, dude.
Yeah, crowd is going crazy today. They want more Mortar for Andrew. It's very possible Mortar, one of the best counters to this lightning beatdown meta that we've kind of seen come into the meta here, but it is not going to be that. It's going to be Miner Poison at the top, and we have Hog EQ at the bottom from Pandora.
So Air Surfer has played some Miner Mortar Poison already today. Go ahead, Jackson.
I was going to say, so it is possible potentially, but we do see the delivery drop, so this is a fairly more defensive version. I think a lot of the time when we see that delivery, a lot of the time it's not going to be paired with the Mortar. More often than not going to be with a Tesla or a Bomb Tower.
And of course, this game one is often heavily planned out with coaches and Air Surfer working with Alan, who's been quite excitable this weekend, and Pandora, backed by Arimura, who of course was a World Championship coach with Mugi in 2021.
So we actually see the Inferno Tower come out from Air Surfer. We saw yesterday the Inferno Tower getting massive value versus big beatdown decks like the Giant and the Bowler, but that's only when you do not have a Lightning or a Reset in your deck. In this situation, it's not going to be super optimal. A lot of the time, it's going to get some negative Elixir trades versus that Hog Rider.
And the Miner will reset, turn towards that Skeleton for a shot, but continue being just outside of that Tesla range. Damage lead for Air Surfer as we approach double elixir time.
Air Surfer, last card here, I would assume it's Poison. It is possible that it's Rocket. Either way, Air Surfer having a decent matchup here. He just needs to make sure to watch out for this 3-card cycle. Hog Rider down with the Mighty Miner tanking. Inferno Tower drops. There is an Evo Firecracker and an Earthquake coming down. Now Hog Rider's going to be back in cycle right away.
And the Mighty Miner not able to protect the first Hog Rider. Second Hog Rider in, though. 2 Knights going to work. Firecracker will get some chip. Log behind all of that. 1906 now add a bit more. 1720. And a big lead for Pandora. Air Surfer trying to push the opposite direction. Can he get on tower here?
Pandora's micro in this last interaction was so perfect. Not great here. Evo Knight getting 3 shots on tower, evening this game up quite nicely.
But a big hog shot the opposite direction. 17-15, let that poison tick away as the Miner comes in. Log to support, Firecracker in the middle, doesn't get, no. Ice Spirit jumps over and the Skeleton's well-timed. Wait, that was the last poison tick, and there you go, the Miner gonna get a ton of damage here.
Hog Rider inbound, Inferno Tower is in cycle. Earthquake will not drop. He wants to save his elixir, and he wants to get to another round of Hog Rider. He needs to outcycle this Inferno Tower for a chance of damage, but what about the Evo Firecracker? It's on tower.
And there you go, the long shot. Getting the left-hand tower down very low, 11-20. Log plus poison, opposite direction, 146 remaining. Will this Hog get through? No. Inferno Tower high to control.
Another Hog Rider inbound with a 3-card cycle. Knight on defense, but he doesn't have Inferno Tower. Log comes down. Mighty Miner still tanking, though. Even with the King Tower, Hog getting 2 shots. 1 or 2 more Earthquakes to finish off the match.
And Air Surfer just cycling poison quickly, but this will be a hard foot race for him to win. Tesla in, Log opposite direction. GG, well played. Pandora takes game number 1.
Pandora is so underrated, and I said that at the very beginning of the day number 1 of the Clash Royale League. He's the most underrated player in the Clash Royale League, and the thing I want to talk about is his micro. It's
time for Little Prince out of Pandora.
Little Prince definitely could get some value here. Maybe Air Surfer will have a Lightning to deal with it, but that's a very negative elixir trade.
And maybe Air Surfer going with the Goblin Giant Lightning Rage here. Alternatively, well, now with the Goblin Gang.
Yeah, Goblin Gang is going to be a little bit more ambiguous. Could be some sort of bait deck with the Goblin Giant as well. We see the Little Prince, you called it, Rich. And from Pandora's side, looking like Splash Art, potentially E-Giant could be an option as well.
And this is what I anticipated was Pandora running Little Prince now with poison in the delivery out, and the Peanut Gallery happy to see the Bowler.
That big purple man, I mean, he is a menace to deal with in the current Clash Royale meta. He counters the Little Prince so well, and he's so good on offense, just like this.
And here we go, early Goblin Giant Bowler range push. The stone does not quite get far enough to impact that tombstone, and That's a funky NATO to start things off.
And the Barbara is going to be forced out as well. So immediate opposite lane Gobba Gang from Air Surfer. Pandora does kind of control with the Little Prince, but he's down a lot of elixir.
Down a significant margin as we pass the midway point of regulation time. The lead, just chip damage so far for Air Surfer, but with that elixir lead, happy to split archers in the back and begin getting that evolution and cycle.
Bowler in the back as well. Pandora leaking a little bit of elixir, and he decides to drop that Knight. He wants to get the Evo Knight in cycle in order to at least be able to counter the Evo Archers by tanking them.
Considering how aggressive lots of the play has been so far in this tournament, Jackson, we're seeing some very slow play from these two players at this stage.
I think we're going to see it pick up a little bit in this double elixir. Poison going to come out from Pandora on top of this Little Prince. Bar Barrel on the Boulder, and immediate Goblin Gang pressure opposite lane. This does force out the Evo Knight. Air Surfer's going to have Evo Archers, though, to counter this Evo Knight and then counter push off of that.
And the Spears get some damage on the right-hand lane, so as we approach the last 30 seconds, the lead extends.
Poison actually going to be able to catch that Evo Archer, taking them off the board. Baby Dragon going to get cleaned up by the Little Prince as well. And I think the biggest thing to mention here is the Boulder potential value versus this Tombstone. Tombstone is so imperative versus these defenses, but as we see here, Boulder taking that Tombstone out, and this defense becomes a lot more difficult immediately.
Little Prince going to work on the back. Air Surfer opting not to call in the Guardian and is taking a reset and the elixir advantage and not going to bite. Wow, right there at the end, the Guardian comes out and gets right on tower.
Guardian getting so much damage by the Knights back in hand, but this is going to be a nice Boulder value from Air Surfer. Rage can help kill this Baby Dragon as well.
Bowler does not quite reach that tower, still doing some good damage to the Little Prince and the Knight, and now the Guardian being knocked back as well. Fish Boy for some separation.
Yeah, and here comes another Goblin Giant, though, with the initial Boulder. Little Prince at the bridge. this push is looking scary. NATO pulls back, but he's only got a Baby Giant for defense. And here comes the Goblin Gang in the opposite lane as well. Pandora, somehow, some way, making this defense look very solid.
But so much damage given up. 1135 right-hand lane, 1348 left-hand lane, and Air Surfer so far nearly perfect on his side of the board.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Pandora can have these decent defenses where he doesn't lose his tower, but he needs to get damage in this final moment. But that's so hard to do when Air Surfer is so precise with lightnings like that.
And when does Pandora even go in with Graveyard? Because not only do you have the archers, but you also have the Goblin Gang to backstop those archers if you need them offensively.
Goblin Gang and that Little Prince is tough because a lot of times you're needing the poison on defense as well. He decides to go for the Graveyard. He gets the poison down, but like you said, the archers are there and the damage is not going to be done.
And raged up Goblin Giant on the right-hand side, going to make that tower even more suspect. Push into the right-hand lane, 25 seconds left. Poison a little bit high here. NATO pulls all of that inside, but that's decent enough defense. Air Surfer looking like he's going to take game number 2.
14 seconds left on the clock. We see a Goblin Giant at the bridge. Baby Giant Graveyard is not going to make it through. Tombstone on defense. Goblin Giant coming through. The defense is easy. Pandora calls a good game. He knows it's over. Air Surfer taking the game number 2 and forcing to game 3.
What a pick in game number 2 for Air Surfer. You know, we've seen a lot of this Goblin Giant Bowler rage, but having both Gang and Archers together really covered phenomenally against the Graveyard. Well, it's always a possibility, boys. And once again, the gold rains down for Air Surfer, who opens up very fast cycle, looking like it might be Hog out of Air Surfer here in game 3.
Yeah, Hog. It makes sense. He has that Earthquake open like you mentioned. Fireball out from Pandora. Interesting deck. Maybe Pandora is going to use some Goblin Giant of his own in this game 3.
Certainly happy to have the Fireball here for that evolved Firecracker when it comes out. Hog goes to the right-hand side. Fish Boy for the pull. Snowball makes a little bit of room on the minions. Wow. And they, you know, for a second you think maybe they'll prevent the King Tower activation. They do not. Either way, first blood drawn.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought. If Air Surfer didn't play that Snowball, the minions would have done enough damage to prevent the King Tower activation. But that one Snowball as it seemed good, it actually went against him in this situation.
And an interesting rage choice here out of Pandora. Talk to me about playing rage there. Was that just to clear the board? That seems, I guess he has plenty of elixir, but it seemed a little bit extra.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe if he delayed it a little bit, he could have got the Goblin Giant a little bit more value. Maybe he could have taken out that Firecracker as well. Bomb Tower down on defense from Air Surfer. This is a tough push to deal with. He doesn't have the Mighty Miner in cycle, but at least he has this Evil Firecracker.
Do we see a King Tower activation out of Air Surfer here? Yes, we do.
Will it get there?
Pull? No, not quite.
Evil Firecracker getting a lot of value, almost too much value, doing a lot of damage. Once again, preventing that King Tower activation with too much damage here. He wants to protect his Evil Firecracker, but it goes in front, and the Fisherman is able to pull everything here. No, this Evil Firecracker is still alive.
And that's going to be some potentially really valuable damage here as that right-hand tower gets down to 1995.
And the Firecracker down on the defense versus these Evil Archers. Evil Archers knocking back some solid damage as well. Here comes a Hog Rider from Air Surfer when he's down Elixir. Maybe he can get this Mighty Miner to defend this Mega Knight, though, and Hog Rider gets a shot.
That is a huge shot, 2308 to 1677. He has to be worried, though, about the potential Fisherman play, and the damage on the Mighty Miner is significant. Mega Knight's gonna leap, Fire Spirit to pull, Skeletons to hold. He has to control here, and back to Bomb Tower one more time after taking a deep breath.
Deep breath, Bomb Tower's down, but you have to be careful. You need to cycle back to another Bomb Tower ASAP to deal with this next push. He's gonna apply pressure in the opposite lane to make it a little bit more difficult, but the Fisherman does a great job of pulling that Hog Rider and counter pushing to the lane he wants.
Mega Knight getting into a bridge fight here with the Mighty Miner. Coverage there prevents the Fisherman from doing much else. Fireball to clear off the evolved Firecracker as we go into sudden death overtime. Lead for Air Surfer in this win or go home matchup, 1984 to 1301.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I have to point out there is $15,000 on the line for this match of Clash Royale. And the nerves are starting to show themselves a little bit, but with these double Firecrackers here, the Fireball getting a lot of value.
And now here we go, the Rage. Fire Spirit hoping to get the minions off the board. Evo Firecracker barely survives. Hog Rider in. Fisherman placed. Was it in time? And it was. I don't believe that Hog gets a shot. Well done by Pandora.
Evo Firecracker not gonna hit the right-hand lane tower, and this Fisherman is going to be, no, great Skeletons there, preventing the Mighty Miner from being pulled onto his side of the map.
So far with the lead.
What a Mega Knight. That Mega Knight jumping over the river on top of the Bomb Tower. He's trying to pull this Mega Knight to King, but he gets the Bomb Tower to defend the Goblin Giant. There's just too much going on. Minions locked on tower. Goblin Giant.
That's so much damage. Fireball in, Fisherman there, and Pandora does it! He goes through to our top three!
GG's well played. Pandora knocking out his good friend Air Surfer. A sigh of relief. I mean, he is gonna stay in it, and now he just awaits the final winner bracket match to see who his loser's bracket final opponent will be.
Wow, what a gutsy performance by Pandora there. Air